You said that you're doing summer school right now. How's that going?
Summer school is going well. I'm not working at my home school right now. I'm working at a school that is actually closer to home, taking a break from driving. but
Yeah.
um, but it's interesting because since I'm not working at my home school, I pretty much have a choice. I mean, I could sit in the sidelines and just hand out work, while the kids are doing work. I'm lesson planning or doing my own thing, or I can walk around and build relationships with the students, even though I'm not going to see them after July 19th.
Yeah.
So I chose to build relationships, because at least for the small group of the students that I have right now, I have a small group of about 15 kids. At least one student's going to probably walk away after the summer saying, "Hey, I remember Mr. Fierros, during summer school. I remember how, he taught us, how he, took care of us." And so, you know, that's a big win for me.
That's
And
good.
especially for the students too, it's a big win for them as well.
What are you teaching this summer?
I'm teaching math, Mr. Vergara. I mean, it's not my subject, but it's like they say, fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Was it middle school math or?
It's middle school math, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, the students that are coming in are below grade level, so it's just going with like basic math. Most students that are coming in are actually newcomers. They're coming
Okay.
from different countries, so they have little or no education at all in their home country. So
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
a little bit of helps for them. So
Yeah. Some all Spanish speaking students.
definitely, yes.
Yeah. Do any of them speak English?
Very little or no
Yeah.
English at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I surveyed the students, and I could say that from those 15, about seven of them are newcomers, and about five of them have been here for about a year or less.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you build relationships with in such a short amount of time? Because summer school is only 4 weeks long.
Yeah. Well, first, I mean, it's almost the same as like regular school year. Just getting to know them, getting to understand where they're coming from, trying to be as understanding and possible as possible. Because, like I said before, I mean, I want to be the teacher that they talk about after summer school, and
Yeah.
you never know too. I mean, there's principals and there's teachers out there too, in the same building that are probably going to be like, "Hey, Mr. Farrells, we'd like to come back, for next school year," and I'm like, "No, I
Mhm.
have my own school," but you never know, right?
Yeah. That's how I was picked up to be a dean at one school. I did summer school twice. That's not true. I was in middle school and I did summer school at a elementary school, and then that it so happened that a position opened up and the principal called me and I was ready to move and she was like, "Hey, you want to come down to this school over here, Union Elementary School?" And I was like, "Cool, I'll interview." And the same thing happened. I was teaching summer school at this high school, and the principal was like, "Hey, you want to interview for the dean position?" And I was like, "All right, let's go." So because of the summer school thing, because they knew me and they saw how I worked and what I was about, it opened up an opportunity for me. And it sounds like that's what you're shooting for, but you're not
Yeah.
going to move.
No, I'm not gonna move, but again, yeah, and you never know who you're gonna run across from, right? I mean, you never know if you're going to confront these, people again. So,
Yeah, the
yeah.
district's small. The district's small.
and in some ways, yes.
It's big, but it's small, man.
Mhm.
There's so many times where I just run into people that I thought I'd never see ever again. And I'm like, "Oh, it's you. We're at a PD or we're at this other thing." And I'm like, "Man, we used to teach at this one school, and who knows? One day, we work in the same district. One day, I'll see you at at a PD or something." And they're like, "Oh, coach."
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Yeah, I mean, I've been an assistant principal that does a podcast.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's big, but it's small. It's big, but it's small.
Yes.
How's vacation? You said you've been working out. How's the workouts going?
Yeah. Yeah. Just taking care of myself. Doing some workouts. Try to eat better and uh,
Yeah,
just I mean, I don't want to have that same excuse. When I want to go ahead and just you know continue that same routine when I start the school year in August. So, but other than that, I mean, we're traveling here and there. We're staying local, my wife and I.
Yeah.
going to practice here and there. But other than that, I mean, I'm enjoying the weather. I know there's a heat wave coming up here in LA, but
It's not that
I'm
bad. Yeah.
enjoying the weather lately. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm just, I am working out. I'm trying to eat a little bit better. I eat okay. I figure, I eat okay, but as I get older, I realize that my energy level is not as high as it used to be, right? And so like you have to take care of your health in order for you to make it through your day. And there's so many things that I want to do throughout the day. And if I don't have my energy, then I'm crashing out midday. Like I'm crashing out like at, I don't know, 3 o'clock. I'm ready to go to sleep, So I've been exercising a lot more during the summer. I've been doing like 2 a day exercises. So that's been fun. I've enjoyed it because I have the time to do it. And I have the time to plan out meals and cook and eat a little healthier. And so I've been doing that. I've been trying to do, don't eat after 5 o'clock. So I don't eat after 5 p.m. And so that's what I've been doing with that. And, I've been trying to eat more vegetables, more fruits, trying to get my 180 grams of protein every single day, but trying to eat creatine every single day
Mhm.
and water. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And if I could sustain this, when I start work, that's the goal. Have good habits going into work, and then try to sustain those habits. I'll make it. I have the energy to sustain throughout the day. That's my goal. So
That's amazing. It's just that's important. Just keeping that same routine going as we enter the
yeah,
school year.
yeah. It's funny. Like the other day, or not last time you're on the podcast, I saw you're on YouTube as well. I was watching your YouTube videos. You had exercise YouTube videos.
Yes, I mean I started that during COVID,
Yeah.
um, and my YouTube channel is Coach Fierros,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean I started way before COVID. I mean I have like video tutorials, like physical education activities, that the kids have done before,
Yeah.
dating back to my days at KIP where I worked at. And then but then it became like routine during the pandemic when I started doing distance learning. I was not
Yeah.
a big fan of just showing the kids, workout videos, as my lessons. I want them to see me, doing the exercises,
Yeah.
just model. So yeah, it became something where the kids still see look for my YouTube channel right now to this day.
You have some videos that or you have a lot of views. And I'm like, oh, look at it, and the exercise videos. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I think you have more followers than me, and you have more views. And I like I said, I went. I think you had followed me or something like that. It's like, oh, Coach Fierros, and I clicked on you, and then I was like, oh, he has a lot of videos. I'm like, oh, wow. And I didn't know that because you had never mentioned to me the last time when that you had made exercise videos before. I was like, oh, and so I saw them. I was like, oh, look at Coach. He's doing it right here. That's good.
Yeah, during the beginning of the pandemic, I remember when we were all like lost, like what online platform are we using to for the students to just navigate through lessons and activities? And I told them, you know what, why don't you just go live on my YouTube channel?
Yeah,
So we will have scheduled sessions during the pandemic where the kids come in and, oh, you know what, go ahead and just log in at 2 o'clock, join me live. And in the beginning it became a big hit because that was the only thing going on at the time. But then
yeah,
as we were figuring things out during the pandemic, then there were much more online platforms for the students to choose from.
yeah. That I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. And you got to upload some more videos, man. I haven't. There's nothing recent, I don't think, and you got to keep it going.
Yeah, I need to, yeah, keep it going. You're right.
It's hard. It's hard to keep it going. It's hard to keep on coming up with content and just keep the ball rolling. It is difficult to do that. So
Yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah, but we came on this podcast, to talk about the importance of the first 6 weeks of school. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the importance of 6 weeks of school. And there's so much we could talk about. But what do you, in your mind, what is some of the most important things that a teacher needs to establish the first 6 weeks of school?
Well, obviously, procedures and routines, which you have mentioned numerous times during your podcast. Um, going behavior and academic expectations, uh, building a positive environment in your class, and also providing like a classroom culture, and making adjustments during those first 6 weeks, because those first 6 weeks, think about this as, I mean, I like to think about it as a sports or football terms here. The first 6 weeks of school is basically like training camp, right, in preseason. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Coaches start, making adjustments, going over expectations. Football players are already getting used to the routines, and that's the same thing with the first 6 weeks of school. Students are, learning about, just the expectations. You're getting to know your students. Start building those relationships with them, and you also teach behavior, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
always say that teaching behavior is like teaching academics. Right? You model how you want your kids to behave.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I'm a big I follow this idea that it's my classroom first, then it's our classroom, then it's your classroom. And it can't be our classroom or it can't be your classroom until we understand that I'm in charge at first. So, like when I was a teacher and I was in the classroom, I would always start with setting the expectations. This is what it's about. This is you come into my classroom to everyone's like I didn't even let them sit down. I was like, everybody, stand up against the wall, go ahead and stand up against the wall. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell you where to sit. You just can't sit wherever you want. And I had their names, I had an idea. I was like, okay, and then I let them know these aren't your permanent seats. Don't think that because I put you here today, you're gonna be here forever. No, these aren't your permanent seats. And throughout the first few weeks, I would move them constantly. Like, okay, let's say 3 days passed. I'd put them against the wall again. All right, we're gonna switch seats again today, and I make a little tweaks, and I would keep on doing that. I'd keep on switching their seats because I never wanted them to feel comfortable. I don't want them to feel comfortable yet, because in the past I've had it where they get to choose their seats or whatever, and they sit down, and then they get real comfortable. And then when you ask them to move, they're not used to moving. They haven't practiced moving their seat. They think that this is their place, this is their station, and they don't have to move. This is my spot. And then you ask them to move, like, oh, go ahead, I need you to move your seat and go over here. They're like, no, I'm not going to move. And so then that becomes an issue. And so the first 4 to 6 weeks, I was always moving the kids around. Like, all right, come in, take a seat. Don't get used to your spot because we might switch these midday. And I kept on moving them because my point was to let everybody know that this is my classroom first. This is my classroom. This is my environment. I'm the adult in here. Um, I'm the safe person in here. I take care of everybody in this classroom. I want you to know that there is a leader in here in this classroom. That's what I want to establish. And so if you're a student and you're like, oh, okay, all right, he's in charge. He's got it. You start to feel a little safe. You start to feel like, okay, he's here. He's safe. He's in charge. Um, and that's what classroom procedures. I'd go over classroom procedures, and it would be like, all right, this is how you enter. This is how you exit. This is how you get these materials. This is how you, if you need to get water, this is what you do. If you need to go to the restroom, this is what you do. If you need to do, if you need to borrow something, this is how you ask to borrow. If somebody's talking, this is what everybody else is doing. If I'm talking, this is what you should be doing. Silent work sounds like this. And I would just go over everything. And again, I'm just sending the message that I'm the adult here in charge. I'm in charge here. And then I would go over behavior expectations, like you said. These are the behaviors that are acceptable in this classroom. These are the behaviors that are unacceptable in this classroom. If you do these things, then a privilege will be taken from you. I want you to know that. If you do this, this is where you get sent to the principal's office, and I can't help you anymore. I have no control over that. When you start to make a sexual harassment type of remark, I have to report that. When you start to, if you assault somebody in this classroom, that's an automatic sent to the principal. I don't deal with assaults. That I don't, as a teacher, I don't deal with that. If you make a comment about somebody's sexual orientation and make fun of, I don't deal with that. That's the principal. However they're going to deal with it. And so I make it real clear that this is going to get you an automatic ticket out of here, right? Because I have to report it. I don't handle it. I don't handle that. The principal handles that. The dean handles that. The assistant principal handles that. And again, I'm sending the message that this is a safe environment. This is a safe environment, and I'm the adult in charge, and there are rules and procedures that we follow. And you could all relax because I'm going to make sure that, this is done. And I let them know that we're going to practice this for weeks. It's going to be a long time. We're going to practice this and practice. Line up, do it again. Nope, hold on, stop. She's talking, you shouldn't be talking. We have to go over when somebody's talking, this is what everybody else is doing. We just go over and over and over, and you have to be on top of it. You can't let it slide. You can't say that this is the way we line up, and then the next day you don't line up that way. You can't say that this is the way you enter the classroom, and then you sit down, you do these things, and you look at the board for instruction, and then the next day you just let everybody do whatever they want. Well, you just screwed up. And you have to stick with it for 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it is. And you're sending the message that, again, it's safe in here. You're safe. I'm taking care of everything. I'm making sure that everybody follows the rules and procedures. Because think about this, coach. If the opposite is done, right? If the opposite is done where there's not a safe adult, there's not an adult that's in charge in this room, and you got these kids with strong behaviors in this classroom, and they're looking around like, there's nobody in charge here. Nobody's gonna say, no, you're allowing us to do whatever we want. The kids with the strong behaviors are gonna take over. They're just gonna take over. They're gonna be like, okay, there's nobody in charge. I'm in charge now. I'm in charge of this classroom now. I say what goes. I'll sit wherever I want to sit. I'll stand up whenever I want to stand up. I'll take the pass and go with whoever I want to the restroom. I'll do whatever I want. And that's what happens if there's no safe adult in that classroom. A kid with strong, difficult behavior is going to take over. And so the first 4 to 6 weeks, if you're not on top of those procedures, those rules, and you're not saying the message that you are the person in charge in this classroom, that you're the safe adult, that you're creating a safe environment, that, if you're not doing that, you're going to have a hard time. And this is where a lot of teachers, and I'm going to throw this back on you. This is where, in my opinion, a lot of teachers lose it right here. The first week, you could lose it for the rest of the year. I think you can.
Yes, that's why it's very important that create a positive environment, like you said. Procedures and routines, behavior expectations the first 6 weeks of school, because and I mean a lot of new teachers, and I've seen this. I mean, nothing against them, but first, second year teachers, they are already overwhelmed the first week of school because they're basically thrown into the wolves with all this information given out during the new hire training with new curriculums that they have to learn about,
Mm-hmm.
right? And new content. And what when do they talk about classroom management? Very little during professional development during the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
So they try to go over expectations like the first week, but then if you don't build those procedures and routines the first 6 weeks of school, you're going to be spending the entire year, like you said, correcting behavior over and over. You're not going to be able to teach.
Mm-mm.
You're going to be
Nope.
correcting behavior over and over. And you know, it, it's just the reality of it. And but I mean, when I say first 6 weeks, I'm not talking about dedicating the entire time on just going over behavior expectations, procedures, and routines, right, and not academics. I'm talking about the first week is about 90% of just getting them setting the tone for the rest of the year. Then the
Yeah.
following week about 70%. 70% procedures and routines, 30% academics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll start, going down until we get to 100% academics, because by the sixth week, students are going to be able to do their work the same way you're expecting them to do, behave the way you want them to behave, and and then the rest of the school year, it's going to go very smooth. Of course, I mean, there's going to be bumps on the road. It's okay to also reset expectations, and it's
Yeah.
okay to tell students, you know what, today I'm going to go ahead and reset expectations because I'm starting to notice that we're not going, oh, we're not following this rule, right? Can somebody tell me what's the rule upon entering the classroom? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then one or two students are going to say, well, okay, this is the expectation. Okay, you know what? Go ahead and I want the whole class to go ahead and line up outside the classroom and show me how to enter the classroom. Right? And I want 100%.
Yeah.
So, so it's
Yeah.
okay to reset expectations during the school year.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm a believer in that whole idea that you don't smile, you don't smile for the first couple weeks or so. You just you're just like you're setting the tone. You're setting the tone. Like, I'm just here to set the tone. We're creating a safe environment. There's somebody in charge, and I'm not smiling. We're not joking. We're not like, I'm not doing that yet. I do it. I'm very, like, if you've seen any of my videos, you see me like sometimes laughing with, like, joking it up, whatever. But um, I don't do it at the beginning for sure. When I was a teacher, I was like, no, we're keeping it serious. This is about business. We're taking care of business first. Let's take care of business first. We play later, right? So we're gonna go ahead and take care of business. I'm not smiling. This is what we do. This is how we handle it. And there's this idea that you sit with the students and you allow them to choose the behaviors that are, these are the behaviors. You ask the kids, like, okay, what do you guys think is good behavior in the classroom, and you list them, and then you have the kids set the rules or whatever, and you do it with the kids, right? You establish the rules with the kids. I mean, I've done that before, and I've sat with the kids. And I'm like, what do you guys think? And they're like, oh, well, respect is important. Oh, we should, one person talking, we should keep our hands to ourselves. Everybody says the same things, right? And I was like, it just took a long time, and I don't feel like there's more buy-in because they said what I wanted them to say. Like, they said what I wanted. I'm
Yeah.
pushing them toward this. I'm pushing toward these behaviors. And I'm not gonna let them say no crazy behavior and say that this is acceptable. No, I know what I want them to say, and I'm pushing them that way. And it was like, okay, why? Just tell them, just tell them this is what is expected. Boom, 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 boom. And so that's what I did. I was like, throw out that whole let me work with the kids to get them to say what I want them to say stuff. I was like, let me just set the tone. This is what we're doing. And for the first 4 to 6 weeks, it's hard. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is it. And I'm practicing over and over. And like you said, it's at the beginning, it's more rules, procedures, and less academics. But then as the weeks go by, they know it, and then it's more academic, right? So at like the 6 week mark, this is where I'm like giving away the classroom a bit, where I say, like, this is our classroom now. Like, this is our classroom now. At the beginning, it was my classroom. This is my classroom. Let me set the tone. I'm in charge. This is my classroom. After the first 6 weeks or so, I'm like, this is our classroom. Let's adjust some of these rules. This is where I'm like, let's adjust some of these rules. Were they fair? Were they not fair? When I said that when one person is talking, everybody is quiet, was that unreasonable or reasonable? What do you guys think? And they start to show, oh, well, I think that, okay, well, when I say that there's one person using the restroom pass or two people go use, when I say, and we would go over all of the things that we talked about, and we say, like, okay, what do you guys want? You want to change something? I'm open to change. Well, Mr. Vergara, like, you never let us switch our seats when we want to switch our seats. Okay, that's fine. Let's switch our seats, and you get to choose. You get to choose now where you want to sit. I'm okay with that now. And I'm only okay with that because I know that we have already established what is supposed to happen in this classroom. So when they switch their seats, wherever they want to switch their seats, they already know the rules. So even if they've sat with whoever, I'm like, well, you know what's expected from you. And if you don't follow it, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do with this, your friend, well, I'm just going to move you back. That's just what it is. And I'm open. Like, this is our class. What do you guys think? I'm always about this. Is what do you guys think? And this is our classroom. And then later on down the line, second semester, it becomes their classroom. This is your classroom. I'm facilitating. All I'm doing is facilitating now. I am the facilitator. You are the real learners. I'm not gonna really tell you guys much. You know what to do already. I'm facilitating the learning. I'm facilitating. The problem happens. Well, I'll facilitate the conversation, but what do you guys want? Let's figure it out. And it becomes their classroom. And I think that is the natural progression. This is my classroom. This is our classroom. This is your classroom. And the teacher becomes the facilitator, completely the facilitator. And that's just, I feel, is a natural progression. What do you think about that?
That, I mean, well said. Right? I mean, you made it clear to your students that you're the one in charge, and that you are still providing that safe environment for them. So
Yeah. And the classroom community. How do you build your classroom community? That's huge too. Out the gate, you got to build some sort of community.
it will be, well, the first 6 weeks also includes lots of icebreakers and team building.
Yeah.
Right? And I like to I like students working in small groups, but also pairing them up with different students, right?
Yeah.
Getting to know. I mean,
That's
with
good.
middle schoolers, there is some sense of, okay, you know what? I mean, if I say get into groups, they of course they're gonna get. There's always gonna be that uh, part where students are always going to be grouping each other, based on, of course, the friends, the cliques
Hmm.
there,
Hmm.
right? And there's always going to be one or two students that are going to be left out. Right?
Hmm.
So I'm grouping them, in different ways where students are going to be, pair up or grouped with, everyone in the class, right? So, and I make it clear before, right? So, doing lots of team building activities, and lots of problem solving, communication skills. I mean, as a PE teacher, if we do not know how to communicate, problem solve, and trust each other, then it's going to be a big problem when we go out there and we play ultimate frisbee, soccer, basketball, whatever sport it is,
Yeah.
because those important skills are definitely going to be have to be developed, in order for you to play in like an actual game of basketball or football, whatever the case is. So, yeah. So lots of team building, and then lots of reflection as well. I mean, when it comes to building classroom community, I like to have the students, sit, in a circle, reflect. What is something that you should have done differently? What type of advice would you give, students, who are like elementary students who are coming to middle school next year when it comes to doing this team building activity? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah.
So just a reflection questions where the kids are actually now getting to know more about their strengths, about their, and also to have crucial conversations amongst them, right? That there's going to be times where there's going to be, frustration. There's going to, and I make it clear with them before we do team building activities. There's going to be frustration. There's going to be challenges, and so I'm just preparing you for that. So that way, when we finish this activity, I'm going to be asking you, how did you overcome these challenges? So,
Yeah.
so that way, during this, throughout the school year, they learn how to be, resilient and
Yeah.
to overcome these challenges. So, that's actually one of the ways that I build a classroom community, Mr. Vergara.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a classroom teacher,
Hmm.
classroom community was just built through conversation. It was just built through conversation, and the idea that you can't sit wherever you want to sit, and I'm gonna change your seats all the time. It forces you to talk with people that you normally don't talk to. It I'm trying to break up the clicks. I want to see where the what. Okay, that's a click right there. Let me break that up. let me go ahead and introduce this person to this side. Let me see, have you ever talked to this person before? Let's see, how that conversation goes. And I'm not, again, I'm not allowing them to sit where they want to sit, because they will sit with their friends and they won't want to move. So I'm making it normal for them to switch seats all the time. You're gonna switch seats all the time. This seat is that's not your seat. You're not. So we're gonna switch. So the idea of that helped them to talk to different people. Like, just, you're gonna talk to different people. So that's one way I built classroom community. And then, you know, we would always start with something like this. It was like this check-in procedure I always had, and it was like, I would say something like, "All right, guys, we're gonna start math right now, but before we start math, does anybody have anything to share about anything?" And of course, none of the kids want to work, so they'll say, "Yeah, let's talk. Let's go ahead and talk. We'll share." And I'm not forcing people to share. I'm not forcing people to. If they want to share, that's great. Then be a listener. And I would always start. And I would say, like, "All right, I'll share first. I'll share first." Yesterday, I went with my son to play catch. He has an elbow problem, and he's a pitcher at Glendale Community College, and he has an elbow problem. So we've been working on his elbow, and we played catch. And after we came home and we ate dinner, we had meatloaf and mashed. Does anybody eat meatloaf in this classroom? I'd ask, and kids would be like, "Oh, we don't really eat meatloaf." I'm like, "Well, I had meatloaf, and that's what I had." And then I just watched some TV, and that's what I did. And then I say something like, "Does anybody else have anything to share?" And somebody raise their hand, and they'd be like, "Oh, last night we had pozole, and it was great. And my grandma came over, and I'd ask a question like, "Oh, does anybody else eat pozole?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we do." I'm like, "Oh, cool, I like it too." My wife makes the red pozole, and I would just share, right? And it would just we connect. And I'm hoping that what I say resonates with somebody else there, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Vergara is like a normal guy. Like, he has a son, and he's taking care of his son, and they're working together, father son. We don't eat meatloaf, but I want to know what meatloaf is, like, and then they say something like, we have pozole, okay." Then I'll say something like, "Okay, well, has anybody else had pozole?" And then they'll see all the hands raised, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not alone here. We all eat it." We've all seen that show. We all enjoy a Little Caesars pizza once in a while. Like, these are the things and that I would do in the very beginning every day, about 5-10 minutes, just to connect with everybody. And it was all about us being on the same level here. We're all human beings living in this city, going through. We all gotta wash our clothes. We all gotta go to the dentist. We're going to the market. We've had car problems. Our parents have had car problems before. We've had sick family members. Somebody has passed away in our family. Like, just connecting, like, these experiences are experiences that we all have had, and we're sharing them, and we're connecting. And if you don't want to share, that's fine. Listen to Maria, who was talking about how she shared a story about how she went to the hospital with her grandmother because her grandmother's been sick for the last couple of weeks. So last night she didn't get enough sleep. Hear what she has to say. Understand, like, have empathy for her. Like, she's dealing with her sick grandmother. Like, don't give her any crap. She had a rough night last night. This kid is always talking about, he whatever, like, his dad is in jail or whatever. He mentioned his dad. He hasn't seen his dad. He hasn't seen his dad for the last couple years. All right.
Yeah.
Listen to what he's saying. Understand it. Have empathy for him. Like, man, he might have some dad issues. He's probably has some anger in his heart. Like, he's probably upset because he hasn't seen his dad. He might be like, have to be the man of the house. He might have to be the man of the house. So, and again, I'm not forcing the kids to talk. I'm not saying just, you have to share. It's just like, it's open. And if you want to share, great. And if you don't, great. Just listen. And I'm going to share as a teacher all the time. Like, I feel like some people believe that you shouldn't share. You should keep your life private. Your life is private. And I'm the total opposite of that. I'm spilling everything out. I bought new shoes. I like New Balance running shoes.
Yeah.
I like protein shakes. Sometimes I walk my dog at whatever amount of time. I have a little Morky dog, and I'm sharing everything so that they're like, all right, Mr. Vergara is a normal guy.
Yeah.
He's a normal guy with a dog and a family, and he likes whatever thing. And okay, I can relate to that. I get it. He's a dad. He's a husband. He likes to work out. He runs. Okay, I get it. And I think that that's so huge because now you're connecting with the kids. Now you're building community. You're sharing.
Yes.
I have this idea that you don't harm people that you know. You just like if I don't know you, it's easy for me to dismiss you and to dismiss your feelings and to dismiss your story. But if I know you personally and you tell me a story about how your wife is sick, I'll be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Like how can I help?" But if somebody is on that side telling about how their wife is sick and I know nothing about the wife or nothing about the person telling the story or like, oh man, that's too bad, like my it's not the same because I don't really know that person. And then if I see something on TV in a different country about somebody's wife being sick, I could care less. Like, okay, yeah, it's sad, but like that's far away. Like I don't. So like my idea was you're gonna know the people in this classroom. And once you get to know the people in this classroom, then it's gonna be real hard for you to be mean to them. It's gonna be real hard to be when you know this guy hasn't seen his dad for 2 years. That's gonna be hard for you to be mean to him. When you know that her grandmother has been in the hospital for the last week or so, you being mean to her, that's man. Everybody's gonna look at why are you being mean to Maria? Like her grandmother's in the hospital, and you're over here being mean to her, making fun of her. What's wrong with you? That's what I'm building. That's the community that I'm trying to build. Like we all protect each other. We're all human beings. We all protect each other. We know each other's stories. For those that want to share, again, I'm not forcing people to share their stories, but for those that want to share, and then that gives me time. Like if I had came in and I said, you know what, like my son, he got in a car accident. He's in the hospital right now. Guaranteed, the kids in the classroom be like, oh, hey, be quiet. Give Mr. Vergara a break. Don't act up. Everybody do their work.
Yeah.
He's had a hard day. He's had a hard day. His son is in the hospital. He's been in a car wreck. They have empathy for you. They have empathy for you, and then they act accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And you're teaching empathy. You're teaching this empathy by these conversations you have in the very morning, and it only takes 8 to 10 minutes a day. That's that's how that's how I do it. That's the piece.
See, you checking in with your students, shows your human side, right?
Hmm.
And so, and I mean that has happened to me before, where I mean I'm checking in with students. I'm modeling how to check in. I'm modeling how to say, hey, how are you feeling today? How are you? Are you okay? Right? Because at the I have had numerous times, the last couple of years where middle school students coming back to me by the end of the school year going, how are you doing, coach?
Yep.
Right? How are you feeling, coach? Hey, are you okay, coach? They already know how to read me. They know how, like they know my expressions already, right? When I feel like I'm a little down, right? Hey, coach, are you okay? Because they have heard that from me before. And also, when you're checking in with your students, and going back to what you were saying about, it's optional for them to answer, like your check-in questions. It, it's you know, it's that opportunity that you have to read the class, right? To see how they doing.
Mhm.
There are other times too where hey, the kids are, I could read the room, the energy is running low. Kids look that they're tired, they're stressed, testing is coming up, or whatever the case is, and I reset everything. I pretty much say, you know what, we're not, scrap the lesson plan for today, class. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice some mindfulness.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna practice, breathing. Right? We're gonna practice how to pause and just be mindful of our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own, be aware of our own surroundings. And again, the same way you do check-ins for 5 to 10 minutes, it's the same way we practice mindfulness for 5 minutes, and that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right?
Another
And
tool.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, yes, I mean practicing mindfulness during the first 5 minutes of class is good, but again, at the same time, I don't want this to be a routine where the first 5 minutes of class is always going to be mindfulness. Mindfulness could be practiced. I want students to understand that mindfulness could be practiced at any time of the day,
Yeah.
which means, if my class starts at 11 o'clock, I could just go ahead and stop the lesson at 12:05 and say, hey guys, let's go ahead and practice mindfulness. I'm noticing that the anxiety levels are going up, the stress levels going up, the energy is running very low. Let's practice mindfulness and let's see how you feel afterwards. Um,
Yeah.
so that way they can also practice that at home. So they can practice
Mhm.
that during their own time. And so that's what I was actually looking at right now when you were talking about checking in with your students. Checking in could also be practicing mindfulness and just reading the room.
Yeah. Reading the room, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even the like, the kids that are like, no, I'll pass, I don't want to share.
Mhm.
That they're still saying something. By them passing and not sharing at all ever,
Mhm.
that's saying something to me.
Yeah.
That's saying something to me, that's like, all right, you never want to share? Like, okay, are you okay? I hope you're okay. Like, I hope that you feel comfortable in this
Mhm.
classroom. I hope that nobody in this classroom is bullying you and you feel like uncomfortable sharing, because if you share, you're gonna be made fun of, or like,
Yeah.
so like I'm really mindful of like, okay, you didn't want to share, okay, that's fine. But
Yeah.
like I'm always like reading, like, okay,
Yeah.
what's behind that?
Mhm. Yeah. And I have some students too that they rarely share, right? But they come to me, individually, and they share with me.
That's
Right?
good.
They might be much more comfortable talking to me about, hey, going back, based on this, or maybe making a connection about what I said to them, right?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I also had this too, right? But they are not as comfortable talking, like in front of the class, which is great, right? And it says it's optional, and but that's why sharing like in a circle where we all look like we are a class and we're a team is very important, because if
Yeah.
you just have them share while sitting down, some of the students might not feel like they're included, if they don't share. So
Hmm.
having them in a circle, that means, hey, you know what? You're part of our class. You're part of our
Yeah.
class community, and you know, um, and that's important. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't have them sit in the circle. I have them sit. We're all facing the front of the classroom. I was a classroom teacher, but I'd make sure that everybody spoke. Like they had their hand raised. Like, does anybody want to share? All right, go ahead. All right, go ahead. You had your hand raised. Go ahead. And I'd make sure that everybody that had their hand raised had an opportunity to share.
Yeah.
What do you think about classroom incentives and at the beginning of the school year? Good thing or
Uh,
bad thing?
during the big for me, I will say, it's a good thing. Yeah. Because during the beginning of the school year, you're starting, if you reward them, you're starting to get to know which are the students who are eccentric motivated and eccentric, right? Who are the ones who,
Yeah.
okay, I want to do this so I can earn this. And some of them are self motivated. So they are like, okay, you know what? I know what's going to be my reward at the end of the day, which is, a grade of an A, right?
Yeah.
So for some of them, they need some short term rewards. Some of them need that. Well, my reward is just going to be an A in the class. I'm happy with an A, and that's that. So I have last year I started developing these tickets. Like called being good tickets, right? But because we're preaching the 4 Bs. Be safe, be respectful, be kind, and be responsible.
Comfortable. Yeah.
I gave the students every time they show me positive behavior or they are exceeding or meeting the goals. I gave them scratch off tickets. So I purchased some
That's cool.
stickers, on Amazon, scratch off tickets, and so every time they scratch off the ticket, it says, okay, you need to collect five tickets to earn an Amazon gift card, and oh, you have to collect five to earn a snack, or collect five to earn Jumbo Juice, right, or lunch with Coach, and some of them have scratch off tickets that you automatically earn lunch with Coach, or automatically earn an Amazon gift card. But of
Yeah.
course, those come out very rare, right?
Yeah.
So I sort them and everything, and like one out of 100, you'll get that Amazon gift card. So the kids are like, scratching and right, and they're, oh man, I need to collect five of these, and the kids are trading tickets between them, and all of a sudden you are building that classroom community because all the kids are talking with each other
Yeah.
now, right? Even though you're not my friend, hey, you have this ticket, the one with the Amazon gift
Yeah.
for you for the lunch with Coach. And the kids are they get into it. Even the ones who are self-motivated, they get into it.
That's good.
So but then uh, that's the first 5 or 6 weeks of school. Now the tickets are starting to fade away little by little. They don't know that, but you as a teacher, you know that.
Yeah.
It's starting to fade away. By November, you're giving out tickets only if they really impress you. They wow you. Like, oh man, you. I mean, seriously, in 2 3 weeks ago, you couldn't dribble without looking at the basketball. Now you're like, wow, that's impressive. Right? Here's a ticket.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 6 weeks of school is more about for the little things. Oh, I love how you're lining up, facing forward, just like Coach said. Here's your ticket. Right? Little things like that, they earn a ticket. By November, right, they have to impress me. By January, they're not getting tickets.
Yeah.
Then because that behavior, that expectation has been built in. And yes, by March, some of the kids are like, "Hey, Coach, wait a minute, you don't give out tickets anymore." No, why should I give out tickets now? I mean, look how you're behaving now compared to August and September.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There you go. Right. So, but what happens if I misbehave? Well, I'll call your parents because I mean, seriously, like, I mean,
Yeah.
you already built that relationship with me, right? You already built a very good reputation. Why will you mess it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the kids, they start thinking about it. So, so as far as incentives, those are my incentives, and again, it's giving away these tickets like like candy. During the
Yeah.
beginning of the school year, starts fading as the school year progresses.
Yeah. I'm not big on incentives at all, like at all. Especially at the beginning of the school year when I was a classroom teacher, it was like, uh, like again, I don't like to give away stuff that I feel like they don't deserve yet. Like you just got into my classroom. We're just figuring each other out. It's 4 to 6 weeks. We're learning the procedures right now, and I'm not talking about this incentive program yet. Because you have to show me, like you have to show me that you can follow directions before we start to do the incentive. I don't want to say, here's a ticket, and this is just me, Coach. Here's a ticket. You now will follow my rules because I have this ticket for you to earn, or you could get some points, and this points earns you a prize. I'm like, no, you're gonna do the rule. You're gonna follow the rules, and that's it. You're just gonna follow the rules, and that's it. And
Yeah,
then after the 6 weeks, when we've learned to follow the rules already, it's like, all right, let's have a table point contest. There's four
yeah.
tables. There's four tables. I'll put the points on the chart or on the board right here.
Mhm.
Whoever earns 40 points the fastest wins a prize or whatever, and then we'll have a contest. Or if you whoever wins the 40 point, if you every 5 points you get a raffle ticket, and then once you get to 40 points, if you got 40 points, you earn whatever 8 raffle tickets. You have a higher chance of winning the prize or whatever, and they're all okay with that. But that's because we've already established the rules, and not because I want you to follow the rules. And if you do, I'm going to give you this ticket. I'm
Yeah,
like, you already know already, so I'm doing this because you know. I'm doing this game because you already know what to do, and I'm rewarding you with this incentive program. And I want to give you this. I do want to give a prize away. I want to give you this. And I would keep on doing that for the rest of the year. I would keep on giving it because, and again, it wasn't because I was trying to get them to follow the rules because they already know what to do already. They've already established that. I was just rewarding them for being in my classroom. Like you are my kids, like my own kids. You don't really have to do much to earn some ice cream from me.
Yeah.
You don't have to do so much. You want to go to whatever, get pizza? Yeah, let's go get pizza. Let's go do it. You don't have to do all these things and now I buy you. No, you're my kid, and because you're my kid, I'm going to give you whatever. We're all gonna eat hamburgers. We're gonna go to your favorite hamburger place, and we're all gonna eat it. And so
Yeah.
that's how I saw it.
Hmm.
And as a principal, assistant principal, we have these caught being good tickets, and for some people, it some adults, some educators on the campus, they love them. They love the cop being good. They use them. They're like, "Oh, you're lined up. Here's a ticket," and which works, I guess, right? Or, "Oh, you helped pick up trash in the lunch area. Here's a ticket. Hopefully you win," And I never gave them out. I never gave them out. I would be like, "Hey, I need somebody to help me clean up this lunch area." This school's gonna do it. You're gonna do it, And then they do, and they be like, "Oh, Mr. Vergara, am I gonna get caught?" I'm like, "No, but thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping the school." Like, but I could see both sides. Like for some, it works really well. Like especially if you didn't have good management, if you didn't have good behavior management, if you're like a staff and you didn't have good behavior management and you used it to get them to get in line, it worked for you. It worked for them. But for me, I was like, nah, man, I can't do it, yeah. But
Yeah.
especially at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because it gets tricky, right? For the students who are, you know, getting in line or like doing their work for a good 5 minutes. Right? For them, they expecting already a ticket. Right?
Hmm.
But then that's where the confusion is. Why should you get a ticket? That's already an expectation, right? Right?
Yeah,
And that is, and if you follow the expectation, you know what the end reward will be. You passing my class with an A. Simple as that. And then that's why too I do, that's I'm starting to think about this. That's why students, when for example, when I'm correcting their behavior, they always answer by saying, "What did I do?" Right? And that's true. They don't even know what they did because that's where the confusion is if you don't go over expectations. Well, you know what? Right now, what happened was that when you were actually running in the hallway, right, when you were supposed to walk in the hallway. Right? And so they don't know which one's the good choice, which one's the good choice or the bad choice, and that's why they always answer by saying, "What did I do?"
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But some people use those incentives. They love them. They do
yeah,
all those like things at the beginning of the school year, incentives, and you know, just all kinds of great stuff that like it's exciting,
mhm,
and it might get kids to listen for a little while, but they're listening because they're getting a prize at the very beginning. They're listening because they get this free time or the no homework pass or the extra time in the quiet corner or whatever you're giving them. They're doing it because of those reasons.
mhm,
And I'm like, no, you're going to follow rules and procedures first, and then we could talk about having an incentive program, but that's just because I know that you're gonna follow rules anyway, and I just want to reward you for just being in my class anyway. You're just my student, and I reward my students, so that's what I'm gonna
mhm.
do.
Well, we're going back to what I was talking about earlier about teaching behavior. You teach behavior like you teach academics, and that's why it's important that you model how you want students to behave in your class, right? Um, you know, like I said, I teach middle school, and I still teach them like they were still elementary. Right?
Yeah,
This is how you're gonna walk into the classroom. Let me show you, and then I go ahead and walk in the classroom. I sit down and I start doing my do now or my warm up. Right? Okay. I would like the whole class, to go ahead and model how that looks like too. The same way I modeled, you're gonna model for me. The whole class does it, but then again, the first time there might be one or two students that are gonna be off task, they're gonna be goofing off, or whatever the case is. Okay, we're gonna do it again until I get 100%. Okay? If I don't get 100%, then that's when I'm at proximity with that student or students, and I am modeling for them as the whole class is doing the entire procedure.
Yeah.
But if the whole class is having trouble, learning that procedure, walking into the classroom, for example, then I use something called the interactive modeling, and that's like a seven-step, process where at first you tell the students why is it important to walk into the classroom and going immediately to your seat and do that warm up. It's very important that you tell them why it's important, because if you tell them what's important, then the kids are going to be okay. Now I know why it's important to do the warm up as I enter the classroom. And then number two, uh, I'm gonna I go ahead and I tell the students, okay, you know what? I'm gonna model for you how to walk into the classroom and sit and do the warm up. And as I'm modeling for you, I want you to start wondering what are you noticing, and I'm gonna ask some of you to tell me what did you notice as I walk into the classroom. So then I model, and then the number three would be asking them like, okay, so what did you notice? Students start at telling me, well, coach, I noticed that when you walk into the classroom, you walked in quietly. Good. What did you notice, Mr. Vergara? Oh, I've noticed too that uh, I noticed that when you walked into the classroom, coach, you got your notebook out right away and you started doing the warm up. Okay. All right. And so, all right, good. Okay, so now I'm gonna pick five students to model for me how to walk into the classroom, and the rest of you are gonna start wondering what did you notice as well. This is the time for students give each other feedback. Well, I noticed that Johnny was when he walked into the classroom, he started talking to a classmate, instead of just doing the do now. Okay, so what do you suggest he does next time? Well, I suggest that he walks into the classroom right away, sit down, and start doing his warm up. Good. Then I'm gonna have to tell the whole class. Now, whole class, you're gonna model for me how to walk into the classroom, and then I'm gonna tell you what I noticed. Yep. I'm giving you my feedback. And then after that, all the whole class does a procedure. I tell them, I give them my feedback, and then we'll go from there. So when the first step doesn't work as far as modeling, then I do the interactive modeling. That seven-step procedure.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Well, we went over a good amount, Coach. I didn't think it was gonna go this long.
yeah.
Earlier, I was like, you might not. It went about an hour, but I think that we hit a lot of important issues, a lot of important topics for the first 6 weeks of school. We talked about procedures, we talked about the rules, we talked about building classroom community, we talked about incentives and whether they're good or not at the beginning of the year. And I think that's all helpful information that an educator could use. Hopefully this next school year. So thank you so much, Coach, for being on, and being another guest again. I appreciate that.
No problem, Mr. Vergara. Thank you for having me. Just keep up that great work. I mean, I enjoy listening to your podcast on a weekly basis, and keep them coming.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Coach.